Okay. Krystal and I are here to chat about Coal Valley, ancient history, 10 years ago. And to set the stage, honestly, we need to catch up because we have barely even chatted before we hit record. But if anybody is watching this is the first video they've seen. They just let you know I have a blog called Can Gets Personal, and a week ago I posted about my reflections on my time at Coal Valley. Since then, it's exploded. My phone has been on fire for a week straight. People supporting, opposing, all kinds of discussions happening. There's now a support group that has 72 people in it as of this morning, talking about their Coal Valley experiences and supporting each other. And it's just turned into a big thing. So Krystal is the only Coal Valley supporter or person that reflects on Coal Valley positively that has taken me up on my offer to do a recorded on the record interview. So thank you, Krystal. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah. So
tell me what you saw this and you were like, and then what kind of went through your mind and what led you to being like, hey, Cam, let's go on the record.
Well, I think for me, when I first read it, I was definitely shocked. And then I guess there was a part of me that I was just really beating myself up. Like I should have reached out more to, everyone in the class just to check in, say hi, see how things are going. I know for me, I graduated from high school. I went straight to college. I was taking a lot of classes, 22 credits a semester, working 3 jobs. And so my life literally was me just trying to survive college. And I graduated a semester early. So, literally after high school, my life was just nothing but work and hoping to catch sleep. Wow. And I guess for me, I feel like I have a different perspective on this because I actually attended 3 different Christian schools. And I did attend a public. Yeah. So a little bit of my background before Coal Valley. I actually, went to school briefly in Washington. My parents were both born and raised in Idaho. And so I attended Jefferson Elementary, and then my parents made the decision to transfer me to Mount Vernon Christian. And it was a phenomenal school. And I'm the first person to say that I think every school, how you can rate a school's success is based on the classes. And you have some schools that have great classes that really jive and get along. And then you have other classes that they really struggle, just, personalities and, and kids make mistakes. We're young and dumb. And so when we moved to Idaho, I attended CUNA Junior High. I was, on student council. I was very involved. I was a new kid. And I also had an incredibly scary experience where I was bullied. I had somebody threatening to kill me. I had, this person would literally follow me through the hallways. And things just kept escalating. And
up here in your class would do that? Or was this some adult or what?
No, this was a student at the junior high when I went to a public school in Idaho.
Freaky.
Well, the crazy part is last year that individual actually murdered somebody and it made the papers in Idaho. And my mom sent me a copy of the link and she's like, isn't this the girl that bullied you? And I'm like, yep. I was like, I could have called that back in junior high. So it was, and I guess for me, going to a public school, I saw a lot of different things, but I have to give CUNA a lot of credit. I had a great experience in the fact that I had great teachers. I made a lot of really good friends. But that getting bullied was to the point where I was like, I really want to go back to a Christian school. So I asked my parents if I could go back to a Christian school. So they sent me to Indiana Christian. And I'll be the first one to say, when you were making comments about white privilege, maybe there were some families that, money was no issue and sending their kids to a private education was no problem. But I can tell you firsthand, my parents made a lot of sacrifices for me to go and get a private education. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've never been really vocal to my parents about how much I appreciated that. the sacrifices that they made for me to have the opportunities that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my younger brother made the decision to go to Nampa Christian with me. My older brother actually ended up staying at CUNA High School, or he went to the high school. So he had a public school education. And he ended up going on to the Air Force Academy and being very successful. And so I guess for me, I don't think you can say, one way is right or wrong. I think it's a matter of the student and their personality and their class. And I guess for me, I was just lucky that my parents were very good on giving us an open view at home. And I had a lot of people that had different views in my life. So I've got some amazing family that's staunch Democrats. And so I grew up hearing their views. And to me, it was never, they were right or wrong. It was how to respect people, how to treat people with respect and listen to their point of view. Whether you agree with it or not, it's not your place to tell somebody how to live their life. And so I owe a lot of credit to my parents, especially my mom in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Nampa Christian was a great school. I just never really fit in with my class. And so my mom would ask me, how's school? And I would just say, I would honestly lie to my parents and be like, oh, I'm loving school. And I would be sitting there going, I feel so out of place. I do not fit in with this class. I had some really good friends there, but I just never really felt like I clicked. It wasn't like when I went to Coal Valley, where I loved our class. And to this day, I will be the first one to tell you, I wish I would have come to Coal Valley sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have, gotten to hang out with everyone there sooner because I had so much fun.
And you just did you say only 1 year at Coal Valley? Was it your senior year?
Yeah. So this is a funny story. So 2 weeks before my senior year started, I was driving by Coal Valley and I saw a bunch of vehicles in the parking lot. So of course, me being curious, I pulled in and was like, what's going on? Well, it was your basketball team talking about a mission trip that you'd gone on that summer. And I remember sitting in the back of the gymnasium, or it was the auditorium at the school, and I didn't know a single person. I'm literally a stranger that just walks into this school, and I'm sitting there listening to you guys tell your testimony and talking about your mission trip. And it was just, I guess, to this day, I still say it was a God thing. I literally sat in the back bawling my eyes out, like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm listening to this. You guys were a rival school. Why would I go to Coal Valley, to see what you guys are up to? And I came home and, actually, Kenny Sack came up to me and talked to me because I briefly talked to him at a basketball game. And he said, you should really think about Coal Valley. And I'm so grateful for that conversation. But in that in that auditorium, he came up and talked to me, and I'm like bawling my eyes out. And, it was just, we had a very frank conversation. And to this day, I'm so grateful for it. And so I immediately went home, talked to my parents, and said, I really want to go to Coal Valley. You think about that. 2 weeks before your senior year starts and you're switching schools to a place you don't know a single person. You don't know what your classes are going to be like. That was kind of a stupid move if you think about it, for a senior to just switch and up and leave and transferring credits and trying to apply for college and all of that stuff that you have to make during your senior year. But you know what? That was the best decision. I'll never forget my first day at Coal Valley. Nathan Hunter was the one in the office handing out class schedules, and he's like, what's your name? I'm like, I'm Krystal. And he's like, well, here's your class schedule, and it was completely blank. They didn't have any classes for me. And I remember sitting there going, did I just, what am I doing?
Not a smooth start.
Yeah, but I was just so grateful to everyone being so nice to me. That is the one thing I will say about our class is you guys all just welcomed me in and, made me feel welcomed. I didn't feel like the awkward new kid.
Yeah, you said that you think the class makes all the difference. Do you think, you really liked our class. Were there other classes did you feel like you clicked with, the younger kids, or did you connect with them at all?
I think that year I did. I guess we'd have to go back to ask younger kids what they thought of me. But I felt like
it's a long time ago. It's hard to remember, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I just enjoyed the whole class. I think of everyone, Paul Baker, his locker was close to mine. And, I just appreciated him just talking to me, being nice to me. And, every morning I was excited to get to school. I loved seeing everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. So, I mean, you had you look back on it very fondly, and you had a great experience. Was there a dark side of Coal Valley in any way for you? Like, was there anything that you were like, I mean, overall it's great, but like, I don't know about this part of it.
I don't know, because I can tell you anytime I did question something, I'd always come in between classes, sorry, or lunch, and just have very frank conversations with the teachers. And that is something that I'm forever grateful for. I think the time that they spent with me, I really appreciated. I never felt judged, I guess is maybe the way that I should put it, that, I was very frank. I mean, I'm sure Mr. Bond could tell you a lot of times that I'd come into his class and talk about tough things, and he was just very upfront, honest, and I never felt like he pushed me one way or another. I felt like he gave a lot of he was good at playing devil's advocate. He was good at putting stuff out there, and then you had to make the decision for yourself. And I think that's something, in reading, granted, I mean, I'm the first one to say I wasn't at Coal Valley from kindergarten all the way through. I was only there 1 year.
Sure.
But my experience, I felt like it was a very open education. I felt like we saw both sides of a lot of things. And, at the end of the day, we all made the decisions of where we ended up going to college, where we ended up in life, what we do. And,
Yeah.
so that's something I still say, everyone chooses how they're going to live their life.
Yeah. What about gender stuff? Like, some people have talked about how they felt like there was kind of a sexist culture, like that it was all about not making your brother stumble. Like, you need to cover yourself up because like guys can't control themselves, and if you like show midriff or some cleavage, you're like basically asking for it. Did you see that or feel that in any way?
No. I mean, I know the rules of the shorts and stuff were a pain, especially as a girl, so I just made the decision not to wear shorts. But at the same time, as I get older, I appreciate that. I mean, to me, I would rather teach girls to be strong, independent young women that don't feel the need to have their butt hanging out or show their midriff. Like, but I mean, that's my personal opinion. I mean, I think women can be strong, talented, independent, have their own mind. I mean, I look at myself in my career, I've made decisions to get where I am today. And I don't feel like anything in life has ever held me back, because I've made the choice of I'm going to be successful. I'm going to follow my dreams, and I'm not going to let people push me down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, no. I mean, coming to Coal Valley, like, you guys had dances. The previous Christian school I had, they had banquets. We didn't have dances.
Oh.
So, yeah. So, I mean, if anything, Coal Valley was very liberating. We could wear a strapless dress, whereas at my other school, you had to, have 2-inch straps. And during that time period, it was very difficult to find a dress with 2-inch straps or find something that looked becoming. And, so trying to find stuff for those events was very challenging.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I will say is every guy in our class was very respectful, and I appreciated that, because that's not something you find everywhere. Because I can tell you, when I was in junior high at the public school, there would be guys that had no issue walking down the hallway and slapping your butt. And I never had that happen at Coal Valley. And I appreciated that greatly. I mean, it was nice to be more than a piece of meat. I felt like I was an individual. I was allowed to have an opinion, and I didn't feel like I was put in a box.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. What about LGBT kids, and like kind of how Coal Valley, presented those ideas and treated them? Do you think that they did a good job on that? Like, cause I know, I don't want to tell anybody's story from the support group, but like, I know now that like tons of them facing depression, suicide attempts, like there was no place for them in like Christianity, and like, especially Coal Valley. Like, what do you think about the way all that was kind of handled?
I mean, to me, I mean, there were kids that you kind of wondered, but I never felt any different towards them. I mean, if anything, it wasn't my place to say anything. It wasn't my place to judge or make comments. I respected everyone in our class, and I never felt like I was, I guess I had the view from our Bible class that it was love everyone. It's not your place to judge them. It's not anyone's place to judge them. And that was kind of my take, and I've always kind of lived that way. That I've always respected them. I love them. I mean, even to this day, those individuals, I have nothing but love and respect for, and I feel terrible that they felt that way. And I guess in high school, like I never saw that side, or I never saw the negative because
You didn't see it
I
from
never
anybody else?
no. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
I saw you and the guys, you'd crack jokes, but I guess I really never paid attention to it. But I always thought of our class as one big happy family. Like I never saw somebody making comments to belittle or hurt or, and I was going through actually some of our high school pictures. I mean, do you remember coming out to my place after dances or football games and we'd have the big bonfires? I mean, I would invite the entire class. It wasn't a segregated event. It was everyone was welcome. We were all just one big happy family. And that was even the comment my parents made of, how impressed they were with our class. We all got along. I never felt like there were issues. And maybe I was just, in my happy little bubble, but, I guess I was a floater. I hung around with a lot of different people, but
Yeah, I mean, what would yeah, it seems like you didn't really see anything or notice anything that really stood out as like, wow, that wasn't good with the way they were treated or anything. But like, what, how would you respond to people that would, said this was living hell for me? Like going to Coal Valley, being taught me being who I was, who I am is wrong. And never letting up on that. Like that's not what you saw or experienced, but like these people are saying that. So like how do you think about that? Like how do you process that?
well, I guess that's something that I still want to kind of understand of like what happened. Because like I said, I never saw that. I mean, I always viewed our class as just one big happy family. We all cared about each other. Um, so to me, my heart breaks for them, and I just want to know like what happened. Like when did this happen? Because I mean, I never saw it. I mean, I can show you pictures of, all of us. Like I remember our retreat when we went to the Oregon coast and how much I enjoyed that trip of, all of us together. I mean, if you want, I can show you pictures of like, I mean, my memories of high school are all of us as groups of just having fun, being friends. Like I felt like we all cared and respected for each other. So to me, to hear that side is just very disappointing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean,
and I feel really bad because I'm like, I had no idea. And I guess from my experience being bullied, I would probably, if I had known it was going on, I would have been the first one to have said, this isn't right, because I've been on that end.
yeah. Yeah. It's interesting with how such a positive experience that you had, whether it's the LGBT kids or kids that were bullied in Coal Valley, like is it weird to think that there were like so many of them that like look back with like a lot of negative feelings and like that it wasn't a good place to be and like they're really against kind of what Coal Valley's about now?
I
Is it
think for me,
shocking or like
I'm just really surprised because I guess like I never saw them getting mistreated. I never saw people picking on them or, I never saw that. And I guess that's where I'm just kind of sad that I didn't know what was going on. I mean, again, there's lots of kids that get, missed or people don't know what's going on. They internalize it. They don't say anything.
mm-hmm,
Um, so that's why I just feel really bad that I didn't know. But when
mm-hmm.
I look back at pictures of our class, like we all looked happy. Like I mean, I can show you. I mean, I've got
No,
group
yeah, I got
photos.
my yearbook out recently too. I was looking at it today actually.
I mean, granted, this is, but you look at us, I wouldn't say that we look like we're being bullied or picked on. I mean, it looks like we're just having a great time. I think of,
Well, that's a picture, right? Like people put on a good smile for a picture and they could be going through hell on the inside, right?
I mean, that's very true. I mean, granted, this is an old picture, but I mean, I felt like we were just one big happy family. Like we all got along. We all enjoyed hanging out together. I mean, they're old photos, but they were, I just appreciated our class. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I felt like, you know, I'm sure everyone, sorry in advance that I'm showing old photos, but down memory lane, like, I just felt like we all got along. I had no idea that people felt that way. But
Right.
I'm the first one to say, like, I've been in that situation where you don't feel like you fit in, and I get it. And that's where I really talked to my parents about switching schools. I mean,
Mhm.
I was between going to a public school for my senior year, staying where I was at, or, Full Valley really hadn't been on my radar until I made the decision to go there. And
Mhm.
I'm so glad I.
How do you think that, you know, knowing now like how many people were having like really struggling at Cole, do you like what would be a better how could we know, how could we find out better? Like even if on the surface it looks like everything's fine, like is there a way we could have spotted it and like dealt with it maybe then instead of kind of, being like kind of ignorant of it?
Well, I think a lot goes back to people need to start communicating. I think I always felt like the guys were very close as a class. So, I mean, to me, I don't know that a guy would have been comfortable coming up to me and talking to me about stuff, but I just felt like you guys as a unit, the guys especially, were very close. I mean, heck, I was the worst basketball player on our team, and you guys all came to our games to cheer us on. I mean, it was just, I felt like we were one big happy family. And I guess it all goes back to like communication. I mean, I think everything in life goes back to communication. I mean, just like your post has created a lot of conversation, which is great, and it's opened my eyes to a lot of things that I had no idea. And I guess that's why I was so shocked because my view of high school, I loved it. I thought we were one big happy family. Like when we had the potential for a reunion this year, I was super excited and I was heartbroken that I was not going to be in Idaho during that time. And I was just like, oh, I wanted to go so bad because I was so excited to see everyone in Krystal.
Yeah. Yeah, communication's hard because especially if you're like feel like you aren't, if everybody else is kind of doing well and you're not doing well, um, it's a fragile time in people's lives. It's hard to kind of speak up and be like, no, I'm not okay. Like, listen, deal with me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's, it's hard to stand up and speak out when like you think you're different. So like, I love I love, the open, honest communication whenever that happens. I just know when you're like in a vulnerable place and very sensitive, like not really realistic that you're going to be able to just be like, help me, I'm really struggling, especially if it's something that the school doctrine is not in support of. Like
Mm-hmm.
like, don't you think?
I mean, I would be the first one to say that my life was not perfect in high school. There was stuff that went on, and the school honestly was a great place for me that, was my support system. And maybe it was just one of those things like I wasn't afraid to be vocal. I wasn't afraid to say, hey, I need help, and have people that were there to just be positive. I mean, I felt nothing but love and compassion. And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess to me, that's where I'm like, again, my story is different
Yeah,
than,
sure.
I mean, everyone has their own
Everybody's
story, but
stories. Yeah.
yeah, but I'll be the first one to say, like, the last month of my senior year, like, I had some stuff going on and it was very challenging. It was difficult, but I'm sure, I mean, you probably didn't know, but
No, I don't know what you're talking about at all. Is
yeah. So, I mean, it's just one of those things like, it, I was just grateful that I was able to reach out to people that I trusted that were able to be there for me.
really, what I don't want you to share anything you're not comfortable with, but like what was that experience like? And you don't have to name it, but like, So you reached out to people and like, how did you get help? How did you deal with it? All that?
I mean, I literally just walked into school one day, sat down and started crying and told them what happened. And they were just like, we're here for you. Like, what do you need?
The
And
teachers
they were,
were, or the students,
oh,
or both?
teachers, some of my close friends. I mean, they were all there for me. And it was one of those things that I was very grateful for. Um, you know, it is tough when you have stuff going on and you're like, I'm a senior, I'm graduating, I have a million things going on, and yet your mind is elsewhere. And I was just incredibly grateful. You know, I felt nothing but love and support, and I am to this day so thankful for that. And I think, again, it goes back to communication. I wasn't afraid to reach out for help, and that's not everyone is that comfortable to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you walked into class and started bawling, and were you?
Well, I came in before school and sat down and talked with some teachers. I mean, it wasn't anything terrible, but it was just, I was in a difficult situation and they were just there to support me. And I'm to this day very grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Were you nervous at all about judgment, or like that it was going to be taken the wrong way, or they were going to, interpret it not the right way, or anything like that?
No, because I guess when you're that low, you just feel like I have nothing to lose. So what's it going to hurt to ask for help? And I received nothing but love and kindness. And, I was very grateful, and I guess I'm sure people are going to have a million questions of like, what am I talking about? Well, I ended up.
Okay. Yeah. Go, whatever you feel comfortable with. I don't want to press you.
No, you're fine. I mean, every person goes through times with their family, and I just was having some, I was not getting along with my dad at the time. And so I ended up moving in with a classmate of ours for the last month of high school.
Wow.
And nobody in the class knew, but the school, was great about it. And I just appreciated the love and support I received, because it wasn't an easy thing to go through. It wasn't and I guess that's where I'm just a very open and blunt person. And I'll be like, it's not easy to go and be like, hey,
and you help.
Yeah. And I received it. And I lived with a classmate for the last month of high school. And, and I'm so grateful to her and her family. And I'm so grateful for the school, because every morning I received a hug from all the teachers, and they're just like, how are you doing? It was the love and parenting and the compassion that I needed.
Yeah. So it almost sounds like, Cole was a lot better environment than your home environment.
I mean, I would say everyone has situations where they don't get along with their parents, but yeah. I mean, my last month of high school, I was living with a friend and her family, and I'm so grateful to them to this day that, I'm very appreciative of that. And, my mom's a saint. She's, I credit a lot of my upbringing to her, and, she just is an amazing woman, and I am so appreciative of everything that she's taught me. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I would tell people is you can't sit and cry about your situation. You have to make a decision of, I'm either going to stay here and be upset about it, or I'm going to make the choice of, I'm going to move on and I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to, impact somebody's life for the better because of it. And people can accuse me of saying that I've had a wonderful life, and I will be the first one to tell you, I've had challenges in my own life. It has not been an easy road. And if I didn't have God in my life, I don't know where I would be today. And I am thankful for, everything that my mom instilled in me. I'm thankful for Cole Valley, for, the classes we had. I mean, for example, I can tell you every point in my life that was challenging, it was almost like God just was like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm here for you. I'm going to take care of you. So, I mean, for example, I was engaged. I'm sure you saw on social media, or, I was previously engaged a couple years ago, 3 years ago. 2 days before Christmas, I received a phone call from my now ex-fiance saying that he didn't want to marry me, and I was shocked. I was not expecting that, especially 2 days before Christmas, when I had made the decision to leave my job, leave the job I love, the home I absolutely adored in Indiana, move to a completely new state that I did not know a single person, take a step down career-wise to a job that I was not very excited about. And I remember the whole drive from Indiana to Nebraska, just praying the whole time and like, okay, God, I have no idea why you are bringing me here. I don't know why you are destroying my life. Like, I was pretty mad at that point. I'm like, I don't want to be here. And my goal was get the heck out of here as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Literally within 2 weeks of me moving to Nebraska, I got plugged into a church. Again, first day at church, show up early, break down in tears as somebody greets me and they're like, sweetie, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I just can't be alone right now. Like, I just need somebody to be there for me. I mean, we're talking broken engagement 6 months before a wedding that everything for the wedding was done and paid for, planned out, like did not see this coming. And so, and then you get stuck in a state you don't want to be in. You have a job you're not excited about, and you're just kind of left there stranded thinking, okay, God, I don't understand. And I remember sitting there in the pastor's office being like, I don't understand why God thinks this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mad. So I'm the first one to say, like, everyone goes through a phase where they're like, is there a God? Why is he doing this?
Did you ever bring that up in the church, like that you were going through that phase?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did they respond to that? Like, was it like, no, it's fine, you know, like, or you know, what was the response?
Well, that pastor, you know, he just let me cry, talk, and he just said, you know, I can't tell you how to live your life, but I can tell you there is a God and that I'm praying for you and that life is going to throw a lot of things your way. But I've never once felt, and maybe it's just been the people in my life, I've never felt pressured of, you have to believe this or you're going to hell. He just said, you know, just take a deep breath, take some time. And he's like, you know, if you don't believe there's a God, then you're welcome to believe that. But I will still be praying for you and hope that you find him. Or, you know, you can have hope in, you know, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Well, I look at my life, and that is the exact story of what God has done in my life. Of the moments that I think I can't take it, the moments that, you know, I can't handle life anymore. And I will be the first one to say that during that time, there were numerous nights I had a bottle of sleeping pills that I was like, I can't take it anymore because I hurt that. So, I mean, I'm the first one to tell you, like, I've been there.
Wow. But, okay. Yeah, we heard a lot of stories like that in the support group, but it wasn't really anything church or religion or those weren't the things that brought you kind of to depression. It was some of these external things, and you felt like kind of the church was the solution or the antidote. Is that right? Am I, you know, interpreting that wrong?
No, I mean, I think I felt love and support from the church. I felt like they were there to just be like, whatever you need, we're here for you. I mean, I had people that were calling and texting me every morning and saying, hey, are you doing okay? Do you need anything? Have you gotten up? Have you taken a shower? Have you eaten? I mean, I was to the point like I could barely pull myself out of bed. Severe depression. I mean, I was lucky to take a shower once a week. I mean, dry shampoo was my best friend. So, I mean, I'm the first one to tell you, like, I've been there. I've been that girl that has lost everything. I had a beautiful home that I left and moved into a teeny apartment where my own dresser didn't even fit in my bedroom. It was in my living room. So talk about, you know, just like I literally have to go to my living room to get my clothes now. I mean, it was something that was just very depressing for me after I'd worked so hard to create a life, had a job that I loved, and then it's all gone. And through that situation, I got plugged into a Bible study. The person leading the Bible study called me one day and just said, hey, I'm going bowling with my husband and some friends. Do you want to come? And that's how I met my now husband. And I am so thankful for that because I truly think it was a God thing. You know, there's no way I would have ever ended up in Nebraska had I not gone through it. I would not be the person I am today had I not gone through that. I'm so grateful. Every heartache has made me a better person. It has shown me God's love, His grace, His compassion. It's shown me that, life is not perfect. Nobody is perfect, but we all have a choice of how we're going to live that life and how we're going to move on.
Yeah. Seems like
Sorry, I just dumped a lot.
No, that's great. I mean, that's very personal and vulnerable, and I really appreciate it, you sharing. So but you never had kind of a experience of depression during your Coal Valley year, would you say?
No, I would say it was a tough year because my junior year, I'd lost, some family members. And that was just very challenging. My sophomore year of high school, my grandma passed away. I mean, there were definitely times that I went through, I'll be the first one to say it, I would say depression. And again, my mom, just a very strong woman of God who just loves the Lord and lives her life as a testimony of His love and grace and kindness. And again, I think a lot of people it goes back to your childhood, your parents, how they raise you, the environment you're in. My mom was always one to continue pushing me of, everything's going to be okay. It may not feel okay right now, but it's going to be okay. And I am grateful for that. Because trust me, I was probably that temperamental high school typical girl. Every girl's emotional in high school. And I'm just grateful for my mom, her continual love, kindness, and grace.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were comfortable kind of like, speaking up about what you were going through at Cole with all this depression and stuff. And you never felt like worried what people were going to think or anything like that.
No, I mean, I did that one chapel where I talked about, how our words affect people, how our actions affect people. I don't know if you remember that.
I've got a really terrible memory, actually.
Okay.
It's pretty bad, so I don't really remember that, but don't take it personally.
No, you're fine. So basically, I led a chapel that we did a PowerPoint that showed a car accident. And again, I'm sure this sounds terrible, but it drove the point home of how each and every person's life matters and how you never think about it until that person's gone. Mm-hmm. And so I think the point I wanted to drive home in that chapel is, what we say, what we do, our words, our actions, they all matter. Everyone matters.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I guess.
No, that's great. I'm glad Cole was there for you when you needed him.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'd say I love that school. I am forever grateful for my time there, the impact that it made in my life. And, to me, I still love our senior class. I think of everyone like family. If anyone ever wanted to call me and chat and, it would be one of those things that I love our class. I think of everyone like family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And you were, super thankful of everything, that happened at Cole. Is there anything, if you were like, room for improvement, not per se like, they're terrible at this and this is a big problem or anything, but like it, wherever there's always room for improvement, right? Like is there anything that comes to mind that's like, I think maybe this area could be better? Anything like that?
Oh, let me think about that. I think for me, again, just reiterating, I think a big issue of just stressing to kids, communicate. People don't know what you're going through if you don't tell somebody, if you don't communicate. If you have a favorite teacher, don't be afraid to talk to them. And maybe that's something, I guess I always felt comfortable. I always felt like that was conveyed. Mr. Bond was wonderful. I used to go in at lunch breaks or in between classes or before basketball practice. I always appreciated my conversations with him.
Yeah.
Mr. Molman. You know, I got along really well with Mrs. Demain. I mean, I guess to me, like, I just really admired everyone at that school, and I never really had issues. But people don't know there's an issue if you don't say something. And you have to be willing to stand up and say something. And I guess if kids aren't happy at Coal Valley, because there are situations where kids are placed there whether they want to be there or not. And that's where they just need to be vocal with the staff. They need to talk to their parents. And again, not every class is the right fit for every kid. I am the first one to say that. I went to 5 schools in between elementary school and high school.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough though, because not everybody's parents are as flexible as yours were. It sounds like you wanted to make a change, and they're like, yeah, we could do that. Some people might feel stuck.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's when they have to have those tough conversations and say, I really don't want to be here. I need to figure out a way out, or I feel like I'm suffocating. Like, those conversations need to take place. We can't make change if we don't communicate. And that's bottom line. Whether it's your personal life, professional life, you cannot change anything unless you're vocal about it.
And communication is huge. You're totally right. And you said, don't be afraid to speak up. But what if you are afraid? And what if you feel like it's going to be taken the wrong way? You feel like you could get expelled for what you're going to say. That it's not going to be good if you speak up. What do you do then?
Well, okay, here's my question.
Feel that way.
Yeah. No, and I completely respect that view. I think, if they didn't want to be there in the first place, they were scared if they talked to somebody about something and they were expelled, well, doesn't that mean they get to go somewhere else anyways? So I guess my question is, what's the worst that can happen? You never know unless you try.
But yeah, what if you can't just leave though? That's not really a solution. I mean, that's a solution, but is there a way to have these tough conversations when you don't feel safe about saying this stuff, but then solve it within Cole? Is the answer to the bad things that happen at Cole you've got to go somewhere else?
No, I don't think it is, but I think if their fear is they're going to get expelled, well, then what's the worst case? They get expelled and they get to go somewhere else. I mean, I guess that's my view, but I think they need to find a teacher. They need to find somebody that they trust, that they respect, that they can just sit down and have a heart-to-heart conversation. In my experience at Cole, I think, when I thought people would judge me and be like, oh my gosh, you're just being a disrespectful child, blah, blah, blah. Instead I just got love and compassion. And that was something that I really appreciated, because they easily could have been like, you're being a spoiled brat. I didn't get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I've got my 2 last questions. Is there anything you wanted to bring up before the last 2?
No, I know I've just kind of vomited.
This is exactly what I was hoping for. So just, just chatting, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What did you feel? So thank you. The last 2 questions are,
right.
Is there anything you would like to say to Coal Valley staff or administration? Is there anything you want to say to them? And is there anything that you would want to say to prospective parents that are thinking about putting their kids in Coal Valley?
I think Coal Valley was the best experience for me for that time in my life. It was very impactful. I learned a lot. I got an incredible education. That education allowed me to go on to college and be very successful. And I think the teachers there were more than qualified, did a great job. So for prospective parents, I think, again, communication, talk to your student, talk to your kid. You can't expect a school to raise your child. You need to be, a productive parent of not only raising your child to have a wide worldview at home and letting your child get another perspective at school. That, again, I was very lucky with my parents. They gave me a very wide view at home, and then I was also given a very good perspective at school. Mm-hmm. So to the teachers, thank you. Thank you for making an impact in my life. Thank you to the school for allowing me to come there, because to this day I still love Coal Valley and I'm so grateful for my time there. Cool.
Well, thank you, Krystal. It was really fun chatting with you about all this, and you've got a good story. Krystal's Coal Valley story, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, class of '08, class of great. But no, I enjoyed it. It was, and that's where, Cameron, anytime you want to chat, call me.
Cool.
Life's short. You don't want to let friendships and people go away or, regret conversations that you never had.
Totally. All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks for being open and wanting to chat. And I'm sure this conversation is going to help other people, think through kind of what they experienced at Coal Valley too. So I think it's going to do a good thing.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for visiting with me.
Yep. Talk to you later. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.